Hello and welcome back to our video workshop about how to sell your hospitality business. If you're looking to get your business ready for sale, listed and then sold, you're in the right place. This is the third video in our series and it's going to cover the selling stage. I really think you're going to get a lot of value from this one. Now, if you've missed the first two videos in the workshop, I highly recommend you stop right now, go back, watch those two, and then they really are required viewing to make sure you get the best possible value from this workshop. So if you haven't watched them, you'll find links at the top of the page. Just go back, watch videos 1 and 2, and then come back to this video. All right, so this video, video 3, is all about the selling stage. It's about how and where to advertise your business, how to qualify leads quickly, efficiently, and how to deal with negotiations once you get to that stage. In the first video in the workshop, I taught you about planning for the sale to make sure that you're prepared personally, that you've considered all of the legal and the financial aspects of your business and the implications that the sale is going to have on all of those areas. In video 2, we talked about how to prepare properly for the sale so that you go onto the market knowing your price right and that you've got everything ready to be able to deal with those buyer inquiries quickly. All right, so let's get started. Let's jump in and look at the selling stage of the sale process. Okay, let's talk about the marketing and selling stage. So what we're looking to achieve here is really to generate solid inquiries for you without you having to spend too much time, and then once you've got those inquiries, without it taking up too much of your time to deal with them. And on top of that, we want to look at how you can best negotiate a deal that's going to give you the result that you and your family need and you deserve. Whatever it is you're planning to do in the next stage, you want to make sure you're coming out with the best deal possible. And the negotiation stage, plays a big part in that. So we're going to have a look at that as well. The first thing we're going to talk about is writing an advert. So here I'm just going to give you a few of the key points to consider when you start writing the advert to use for the advertising, and then we'll have a look at the best places to advertise once you've done that. So ideally what you're looking to do with your advert is give out just enough information so that people actually want to make an inquiry. You don't want to give out too much detail in the front end in that advert, because otherwise there's no reason for people to call, and it could be something in there that might put people off. So you want to make sure that level of information is just balanced about right to start getting inquiries. You're going to know fairly quickly once those adverts start running whether or not it's formatted right and whether it looks right. So have a look around, get a few ideas, and make sure you don't give away too much early on. Try and leave something there that people need to get in touch either by email or phone in order to get the rest of the information and the details from you. Also, you want to try and, in the way that you write the ad, try and spark a bit of emotion. It's very different, obviously, with a business sale compared to a house. It's harder to get emotion involved, but you want to try and find ways to bring some emotion into the purchase for the buyer so that you can try and get them a little bit more engaged. It's much easier to do once you get them into the place and once you get an inspection booked. But try and do what you can with the advert copy in order to just a little bit of emotion kicking in. It will definitely help you to get them closer to coming down and having a look at the place. Also, you want to look at the benefits of the business. Don't just focus on the potential. So everyone that we speak to typically wants to try and push the potential. Now, whilst the potential is a selling point, definitely can help with that, you really want to focus on the current benefits as much as possible as well. So make sure you're weaving some of those in, so key features, key benefits into the advert copy, just to make sure that you're really demonstrating what the business is currently doing and the benefits of buying it as it is currently, rather than what it could do if the person that bought it, invested money or made changes or worked more. So the potential definitely is a good thing to focus on, but the benefits is a much stronger angle to take with that. Also, try and answer some common questions up front. So typically people are going to be looking, so the more clued up buyer is going to want to know information about the lease, and renewal terms is usually a common question that's asked. Also, wage figures is something I don't really understand why people get too wrapped up in what the current wages are. Maybe it's an opportunity for them to think about reducing that. So make sure that you're answering questions around those key areas. So lease term is a very common question. Rent reviews and rental increases is another one, and lease term obviously is a very important part as well. So make sure that those are some of the key details you're putting in, going back to point 1, where you're giving out the right sort of information but maybe not giving everything away to start with. So those are the key things to consider with that. And once you've done that, once you've crafted your ad copy, and my suggestion with that is write it and then leave it for a while. Go away, come back even the following day, read it again, have a look at it and see what you think. So you're probably going to, the first draft, you're probably not going to go with. You might want to change it a little bit, but take a little bit of time with that. It is important. You're going to be advertising most likely with a lot of other businesses. So you want to make your copy and your advert stand out a little bit. So do take some time with that. It's definitely worth crafting something that's a little bit different to everything else that you see. And as I said, if you can try and spark a little bit of emotion in there as well, that's definitely going to help. So once you've done that, then it's really about deciding where you're going to advertise. So in this section, we're going to have a quick look at online and offline options, and I'll talk you through where we advertise and where we're getting the best results at the moment. So the typical places that you're going to see most businesses advertised are going to be the business for sale website. So places like Seek, Real Commercial, Australian businesses for sale, and so on. There's a lot of those websites now. So you tend to find, like most things, you're going to get what you pay for. So some of them, the bigger ones, are more expensive, but you're definitely going to get better quality of leads, and your ads are going to get in front of more people, because typically those bigger sites, they search better, their search engine optimization's better, so they turn up in more Google results and Google searches and so on. So have a look through those and work out which ones you feel most comfortable with and where you think you're going to get the best result. I'll talk you through the ones that we use in just a moment, and then I'll show you the top 3 places where we generate leads as well. Also, there's advertising directories, so that would include things like Gumtree, eBay, and all those different kinds of directories where you can put typically either low or no cost adverts. Those places, there's definitely a spot in the market for them, but the quality of the leads typically is not as good as the business for sale websites. You tend to get a lot more inquiries, so higher volume, but the quality of those leads is generally lower. So, but having said that, there is, I'm certainly not ruling them out. There's definitely a place in the market for them, and they certainly, they can work. As I said, the lead quality typically is the reason that we don't use them. Also, print media. Now, this is something that is kind of, I think, to be perfectly honest, is pretty dated. We've tried it for a couple of clients that wanted to do it, and to be honest, for the cost involved, we got little or no return actually for what we spent on that. So it's not something that I would necessarily be rushing to do, but it is an option, and it may work depending on where you're based. It may or may not work better than where we've tried it. So that's an option as well for that side of things. And also through your network. So start thinking about who you can talk to, whether it's suppliers or people from even your personal network who might have somebody or might even themselves be interested in your business. So start trying to think strategically about who might want to buy your business. Could it be maybe another operator that want to buy it, or maybe your roaster might know somebody. So think about who you can talk to, and that's going to keep it confidential for you, but you might be able to leverage something and find somebody through your own network. Okay, let's have a look at the business for sale websites I mentioned before, the ones that we use. I'll just talk you through here. We use about 8 or 10 typically with the clients that we're working with. So on the left here, businessforsale.com and Seek on the right there. Those 2 of the bigger ones, probably 2 of the more expensive ones, but 2 that we do get pretty good results from. So those are 2 that rank pretty well. There are a lot of other businesses on there, but the search functionality is pretty good. And the lead quality coming through from there seems to be pretty strong. On the left hand side, australianbusinessesforsale.com.au, another good site. It looks a little more dated than the other 2 that we just looked at, but I have to say there's still a good amount of inquiries come from here, and again the quality is pretty good. Business View on the right is just one for brokers. That's one that we use to get a reasonable amount of leads from there, not overly strong at this point. Any Business is one that you could consider as well. That's a pretty good website. And businesstosell.com.au, very low cost, but low return on that one. As I said, you really are going to get what you pay for with these. So as we go through these, the quality there on those 2 is not as good as the ones we've already looked at. On the left, commercial real estate actually is a pretty good. It's a pretty good website. We found, especially Canberra, so ACT, South Australia, Western Australia, really strong. We get a lot of leads and inquiries for listings in those areas from this website. So if you're based there, that could be a good option for you. It depends. It's New South Wales and Sydney. It's a little bit different. Just depends. So typically, Seek will outperform this New South Wales. Having said that, it's normally up there with some of the most leads coming through. Now, on the right-hand side, that's a website called Dui.com. This is designed and delivered to the Chinese market. So we'll get adverts translated and added onto this platform as well, just to put that in front of the Chinese market as well. So another option that you might want to consider. And on the right-hand side here, B-Sale. B-Sale, we've had some really good results on regional businesses with B-Sale. So if you're in a regional location, definitely worth considering that one. I'm not sure why, but it just seems to search better for regional businesses. So that's that one. And on the left there, that's just our website. So all brokerage clients, we list their business on there. And naturally, I think because we only deal with hospitality businesses, we tend to get more views on there than all of the other sites combined. So it's just because it's become known as a place for people that are looking to buy a hospitality business. So other things that we do, we'll use social media. So we use Twitter. We do get a bit of response from that, not a great deal, but it's just, even if you get one or two inquiries from there, definitely worth doing. We use Facebook quite heavily, so the chances are you've probably seen one of our groups or our Facebook page, but we leverage Facebook ads as well. So we'll use very targeted advertising for business listings as well, and that's something that you can do and something you can definitely consider and put on the list of things to think about. It's not as complicated as people think it is, and there's a lot of help out there on the internet to work out how to do it. So that's definitely something I would consider looking at. So we'll use, on the right hand side there, you can see we've got Instagram as well. So we'll just, we'll put stuff out there on Instagram. Again, we don't have a huge following on there. We don't get a lot of traction from that, but really you only need one good inquiry to sell your business. So you want to cover as many bases as you possibly can, just to try and draw leads in from all different areas. So if you're comfortable doing that, you could obviously leverage your own social media to do that. Otherwise, on the left there, you can see our Cafe Buyers group. So that's a group that is open to anybody. So if you are selling on your own and you want to list on there, feel free just to join the group if you're not already in there and post your business on there. And there's plenty of other Facebook groups of that nature where you could list your business for sale. So have a look around and find suitable places that you feel to advertise, and whatever you feel comfortable with. Make sure you're getting as much coverage. The idea is to get as much exposure to the right people as you possibly can. So as I mentioned, I'll just talk you through the top 3 lead sources that we're finding at the moment at the time of recording this. The first one is Seek. So as I mentioned, it's by far the most expensive of all the options that we've talked about there, but the lead quality is very good and the lead volume is pretty good as well. So that one definitely is up the top of the list for us at the moment. Second to that is commercial real estate. This is working really well. It's a much lower, in fact for us it's about 50% price wise to Seek. I'm not sure what the private listings fee is at the moment, but for what we pay, certainly it's 50% of Seek, and we do generate a lot of inquiries from there. And again, they're typically good quality. So have a look at that one as well. And thirdly is Facebook. As I mentioned, with the targeted Facebook ads, that seems to be something that's working really well at the moment for us. Not many other people are doing that. So it's, I think another way of getting in front of people, disrupting and interrupting people. It's quite an effective way of doing it. So the websites, Commercial and Seek and all the others that we looked at, that's typically people that are looking for a business. So the leads are definitely stronger from those places. With Facebook, you tend to get lower lead quality to a degree, although we've sold a lot of businesses to people that have found us and found listings through Facebook. So you kind of, I think Facebook's probably in between the business websites and Gumtree and eBay. So the lead, from a lead quality perspective, the leads are good, the volume's good, but they're not as strong as from the business for sale sites, but they are better than those from Gumtree and eBay and so on. So again, well worth considering. A few options there, but that's the top 3 lead sources for us at the time of recording this. So a few other places that you could consider advertising that we touched on at the very beginning of the video. So Gumtree and eBay we've already talked about. So there's options there. Again, low or no cost. Yeah, again, you're going to get what you pay for, but it does work. You know, it can work depending on the size of the business. If you don't mind filtering through a few leads and inquiries to get to people that are genuine, then yeah, definitely worth considering. Facebook groups we touched on just before as well can be a very good way of doing it. There's plenty of those out there. And then the print media that we talked about. So the bigger publications are one avenue you can look at. The other one is for industry publications. Now these typically, again, they are actually quite expensive for the amount of exposure that you get. But the upside to this is that with publications like Bean Scene and Cafe Culture, you're going to get your advert in front of a very targeted audience. So although the cost is a bit higher, it could well be worth considering. And the other option is for local print media. So the Manly Dailies, that's the local paper to me. So that can generate obviously very targeted local leads. And if you think that your sale or your business is most suited to somebody local, then local print media could be an option as well. So give that some thought as well. So once you've got your ads running and you start generating some inquiries, hopefully the phone starts ringing, you start getting a few emails, then it's really about how you're going to qualify those inquiries and get rid of the time wasters, which invariably you do get, the tire kickers as they're known. How are you going to get rid of those early on? What you want to try and do initially is to get the buyers and get those people making inquiries jumping through a couple of hoops, and it's fairly easy to do. And by just asking them to take some simple actions, you're going to find you get rid of those tire kickers and the time wasters really early on. So it's going to save you time. So initially, what you're looking to do is get all of the contact information for the person that's made an inquiry. So if you've got somebody that's reluctant to give out the phone number, or they give you a dodgy email and the emails are bouncing and so on, then generally, sometimes obviously they have made a genuine mistake, but if they're not prepared to give out their full information, typically there's a reason for that. If they're a genuine, serious buyer that's interested in your business, then they're going to want you or whoever's dealing with the sale to get in touch with them. So if they're reluctant to give that, that's a little bit of a red flag, and I'd keep an eye out for that. The next thing you want to look at doing, and I'll put a template just below this video for you, just to give you an idea of what a confidentiality agreement might look like. You can send out this to them and ask them to sign it. You're going to make it obviously specific to your business, but by doing this, you're asking them to take a relatively simple step that if they're not prepared to take, again, it shows that they're not that serious. So it's not a huge ask. It's very common. We wouldn't give out any information about anyone's business without somebody doing this. And we don't make it difficult. We actually make it relatively easy for people to do this. And we work on the principle that, if you're not prepared to take the time, and it's not really a big ask, to fill out a simple form and return it to us, then that sends us a signal that you're not really a serious buyer. This does get rid of around 40% of inquiries, and we will actually follow up around 5 times. So if you've made an inquiry, we'll send out the confidentiality, we'll chase that up 3 times, we'll call, we'll leave a voicemail, we'll send a text message. And if you then don't return the agreement, we'll just strike you off the list and assume that you're not serious. We've at that point tried every form of communication that we can to get you to return the confidentiality agreement, and if you haven't done it, then that just basically tells us that it was probably you were just clicking around and you're not actually that serious. So at that point, we'll just delete it. So make sure that you're putting a step like that in place. It works twofold. So firstly, you are protecting your confidentiality, and secondly, you're just asking the buyer to jump through that first hoop to make sure that they are actually a serious buyer. Next, the ideal thing you want to try and do is to get them on the phone and get them talking. So you at this point, you're trying to find out as much as you can about them. And again, you want to make sure that they're genuinely interested in your business. If it sounds like they're going to be a good fit for your business, then go ahead, send them out a bit more information, a bit more detail. We'll typically put together a business profile that will show that in a later part of this video or the next video. But we'll send out a sort of 20-25 page document giving details about the business, just to further qualify them and make sure that they are genuinely interested in your business. So after that, once you've done that, you've sent the details out, you've qualified them early on to make sure they're important. The next thing that you need to really remember is that you need to follow up with them. And I've put it there 3 times just to make the point that this is really a big difference between people selling on their own and people using a broker. Now, a good broker will follow up relentlessly. Not, to the point where you're upsetting people, but to the point where you have to recognise that people typically need chasing to take simple actions. You can't expect to just sit back passively and run an advert, expect someone to make an inquiry, them come and have a look at it, make an offer, and it all go through smoothly. It's just, I hate to break it to you, very, very unlikely that that's what's going to happen. The difference between the process with using a good broker typically is that the follow-up is really where the sales are made. So make sure that once you've got somebody engaged, you are following up with them. Don't be worried that you're looking desperate. I get a lot of people selling on their own think that just by calling somebody and following up with them, it's looking desperate. It's not at all. It's you looking like you're engaged in the sales process and you want to get something happening, and you don't really want to deal with people that are going to waste your time. So yeah, make sure that that's a big focus of following up, an extremely important part, and as I said, a distinct difference between people selling on their own and selling through a broker. So at this point, what you're looking to do is try and arrange an inspection. You're not really trying to sell and push the business at this point. You want to try and get people to come down and to meet with you and have a look at the premises. And you can then start working on trying to get them emotionally engaged in the process. So you're trying to sell the appointment and not the business at this point. When they do come down, you want to be making sure that you're asking them more questions than they ask you. So you're positioning the inspection really as a way, okay, well, come down and have a look at the place, and we can have a talk about the operations and all that kind of thing, and I'd like to show you this, and you're working to get them down, to come down and have a look at the place, but really you're actually using this meeting as well to get them talking, so you can get to know them and you can further qualify them and make sure they are going to be a good fit. You don't want to push this too hard with them and spend a lot of time with them if it doesn't sound like they're going to be a good fit to buy the business, if they haven't got the money, if they haven't got the security behind them that's going to stack up for the landlord. So make sure that you're really getting to know them as well. So it's being sold, the appointment's being sold as showing them the business and talking them through the equipment and fixtures and fittings and everything else, but it's really also about you further qualifying them, which is a very important part of the process. You're also, by doing that, you're going to get to know them personally, and you're going to get to know what kind of things they're going to be looking at. So you typically find with buyers that they focus on different things. So what one person sees an advantage, another might see as a disadvantage, and so on. So this process and this meeting, really, you're looking to find out what are their objections, and then how can you overcome them. So we're, as brokers, we're typically working to find out and get people to a no fairly quickly, because it's as I said before, it's unlikely that someone's going to come through and buy a business, just from seeing the advert and coming down for an inspection. Typically, they're going to have some sort of objection, and the sooner you can find out what that objection is, then the sooner you can start overcoming. And that's a really big and very important part of the sales process. So getting to know them and identifying their objections are another thing you want to put at the top of the list of when you actually meet with those people, or when you're talking to them on the phone before the inspection as well. So once you've done that, hopefully you've got it to the point where you can start then talking about the deal. You've sold them the dream, they've come down, they've looked at the place, and it's all looking good. So at that point, it's then starting to negotiate the deal. And just a few key points in relation to that is, again, coming back to that necessity to follow up. So at this point, you need to really work hard to keep following up with them and keep making sure that, if there's any more information they need, then you're sending that out and you're supplying that. Really, at this point, it's about you staying in complete control of the deal and not letting the buyer have the upper hand. So you need to, without being too pushy and too forceful, you need to focus on staying in control of the deal and really keep the momentum up. So you don't want the deal to stall and stop at this point. Typically, most people are looking at several businesses. So as I said, don't be afraid to follow up and make sure that you stay in control and keep the momentum going. You're really looking to push at this point for them to come forward with an offer. And now there's several ways that you can do that, and typically we'll put behind the offer and behind the deposit, we'll actually put, okay, well, look, if you want all the detailed and really confidential financial information, then we're happy to do that once you've come forward with an offer. What you don't want to do is spend loads of time with somebody and give them all your confidential information and have several meetings with them and lots of conversations and then find that they come forward with a stupid offer. You know, if they're going to do that, let's find out now and then work from it. Work a deal from there. So you want to give them enough information in order for them to be able to put forward an offer based on that information. And then I would suggest you say to them, okay, well, you can base an offer off the information and the details we've given you to this point. And once you've made an offer that's acceptable to us, we'll move into due diligence. And at that point, we'll give you all the information that you need and have further meetings to verify all of the figures that we've given you. So start pushing at this point for the offer and then try and further qualify the buyer at that point. And there's several different ways that you can further qualify at that point. One being assets and liabilities form and so on. It's not something that we've got time, unfortunately, to go in great detail about in this video, but with the clients that we work with on a month-to-month or on the 6 steps or brokerage basis, we'll be asking them to send out an assets and liabilities form and other bits of paperwork to try and qualify the buyer further, to make sure that even though they've made an offer, they are actually qualified to make that offer. They've got the money and they're going to be a good prospect for the landlord. So start pushing for the offer, and then once you've got that offer, make sure that you're focusing on further qualification. So once you've settled on a price, once they've come forward with something that you're happy with, then really it's about getting the ball rolling. The first thing you're going to be doing is instructing your solicitor. In order to do that, you're going to send out what's called a sales advice. And I'll put a template below this video of a kind of sample sales advice of what information's included in that. But typically that's going to give your solicitor all the information they need in order to prepare the draft contract. Again, it comes back at this point, you need to stay in control of the process. Now you've got to manage your solicitor as well. So really, you're going to need to focus on chasing your solicitor as well as the buyer. And again, coming back to the difference between selling on your own and through a broker, this is where a good broker earns their money. So you're pushing your solicitor to make sure that things are being done as you want. But that comes back to initially that first step, making sure that the instructions you give your solicitor are clear and gives them all the information they need. So once that's done, then the draft contract will go out, and then there's the to and fro in between your solicitor and the buyer's solicitor to get the terms of the contract agreed. Now that process, you have to really stay on top of that. That's something that you're going to need to focus on, and something that really can make a very big difference between make a very big difference to the time scale of the deal overall, and to a degree as to whether the deal goes through or not. So choose your solicitor very carefully and make sure that once you've got the ball rolling, that you stay on top of that. Once those negotiations have gone backwards and forwards and the two solicitors are both happy with the contract, then at that point you need to, in fact, before that point, whilst that's going on, I would suggest you need to get all of the information that's going to be required for the lease assignment for the landlord. So to a degree, it doesn't matter what the offer is. If you get to the point where the landlord has a proposal put forward for the lease assignment, if you haven't done this stage properly, then you're going to find that it's likely the landlord could knock the person back. If they don't have the right experience, if they don't have the right financial background, or more importantly, if you haven't presented it properly, then the assignment clause in your lease will most likely say the landlord has the right to refuse the lease assignment. So by getting all the right information, collating it properly, and preparing a solid application, you're giving yourself the best chance of getting that put through. And it's a big focus, and something that we work on very closely with our 6 steps clients and also our clients on brokerage. It's something that used to typically be done by the solicitors, but we found now that we've taken that on board, and people selling on their own, we encourage them to do this themselves, just to make sure that it's being used as a further qualification, but also exactly what's being put forward to the landlord, and it's only going forward to the landlord once it stands the best chance possible of getting improved. So definitely something and a big focus, and something that we go into in more detail as part of our 6 steps program, to really make sure that people are putting forward a solid application. So lodging that application, that's either going to be done through your solicitor or the landlord's solicitor. or through the agent in some cases. So once you're happy with everything that's in there, then make sure you get that application in and start pushing for the assignment. Now that process, it can take a little bit of time, but it is crucial. The contract can be exchanged and typically will be exchanged subject to the landlord granting approval. So again, it's really important that you've done all that work in the background and you only put this forward to the landlord once you know the contract's where it should be and agreed, and then this application goes in, the contract's exchanged subject to this being agreed, but you're putting it forward knowing that it stands the best chance possible. At that point, again, it comes back to chasing your solicitor, and I've put there in brackets repeat as required because it is something that you're going to have to do in most cases quite a lot. You need to keep pushing your solicitor, and remember that your solicitor's job is to act on your instructions. So whilst you should certainly take your solicitor's advice, it doesn't mean that you have to do everything that they suggest. You need to take a commercial view in some instances, and you need to also remember that you're the client and you're the one that's giving instructions. So if you don't feel that it's going where it should be, keep pushing them. You do typically find that solicitors are dealing with a lot of things at one time, and you have to stay on top of them to make sure that you keep the deal moving. So you're going to be driving it from your side of things there. Once you've done that, then you've got all of the terms of the settlement agreed. So basically, once you get your landlord approval back, then everything else slots into place. Once that's done, there should be a settlement period. Maybe there's a training period or a handover period or even a trial period in some instances. So at that point, you can get all the terms of the settlement agreed. Your solicitor will be working with the buyer's solicitor in order to make sure that you've got the all of the apportionment of the rent that's been paid in advance and everything else all settled. And the instructions will be then given to the buyer's solicitor and then the buyer in turn in what they need to do in order to get the settlement done. So at that point, really, that's where you're going to shift then to the more practical stuff about what you need to prepare in regards to a stock take, depending on what you've done with stock, how you're going to transfer your social media, making sure that all of your utility suppliers are notified and transferred on the day of settlement and so on. But once you've been through those previous steps and you've actually got a date, then you can actually start working closely. And usually at this point, you don't do that through the solicitor. You'll do that directly with the buyer. You're going to start getting all of that logistical stuff organised and worked out. So that's a very quick run through. Obviously, there is a bit more detail to it than that, but hopefully that's given you a kind of a top level overview of the process at this stage and how you can best firstly get your ads out there, start generating inquiries, and then how you can qualify them. And once you've got them qualified, start trying to push for the sale, the offer, and then the process behind once you've got that offer. As I said, I'm limited to what I can give you in this video. It's probably each of these sections is a video on its own, and this workshop really is designed just as an overview for you, but hopefully you've got some value from that. As always, if you've got any questions or anything you're not sure about regarding this step or the previous things that we've talked about in the other videos, then please feel free, scroll down and leave a comment below. More than happy to try and help you out as best I can with any questions that you might have. Now, one of the common myths that people have about selling on their own is the amount of time that it might take. Some people think that selling through a broker is going to save them a lot of time and prevent them from having to do any work. The reality is that most of what we've covered so far, you're going to need to do at some stage during the process, regardless of whether you sell on your own or through a broker. People also ask me about the time it takes to deal with inquiries and dealing with the tire kickers and the time wasters. And the misconception here is that this is the hard part. And as we've talked about in this video, you can make this part of the process much easier just by getting those buyers to jump through a couple of hoops. The harder part of the deal is actually taking your buyer once you get to that stage from offer all the way through till settlement. And this is where many deals can fall over. Hopefully that's something you've taken from this particular video. So the last 3 videos have been a great experience for me sharing the information and getting the feedback, which so far from you has been extremely positive. So thank you very much if you've taken the time to comment and got in touch, as many of you have in different ways. So that's really why I put this workshop together. Now, I know these videos have already made an impact on many people that have contacted me directly, and hopefully it's helped you too. If you are interested in taking this even further, I've put together a more detailed program just for a small group of hospitality business owners. This program is called the 6 Steps to Sale, and it's a proven framework to help you fully plan and prepare your business sale. I work with you on the entire process, so we make sure that when you go to the market, you're fully prepared, you're priced right, and that you stand the best chance of selling in the shortest time possible. Once you're ready to list your business for sale, if you do need help with the advertising and with qualifying leads, then we can help you with that too. I'm going to be opening up registrations very soon. We typically enrol a maximum of 15 business owners, then we close off registration so we can start the program. So be on the lookout for the email with more details about that within the next couple of days. In the next video, I'm going to cover all the details about that 6 Steps to Sale program, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can get started. In the meantime, I'd love to help with any questions you might have about what we've covered so far or anything to do with the sale process. So please feel free to leave comments. Scroll down below this video, you can leave a comment or contact me directly in any way. And otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you in the next video, and we'll cover all about the 6 Steps to Sale program.